Oh boy. All right. What's going on, good people? It's me, and haha, made it a point of emphasis to actually bring something to drink after a couple of weeks of not having that. So yes, as you can tell by the title of the stream and by what's right below my lip, Tampa's weakness. It does exist. All right. So I created this episode. I'm gonna say that because I might deem it something called Whiteboard Wednesday. Let me know how you guys think about that. It's pretty cheesy, I know, but it'll at least give my stream a freaking title for once. But before I really begin with that, don't worry about not being able to see this because I have pictures for you to see it. So if you're just tuning in right now, don't worry, that'll show up. Let's introduce some of the people that are already here. Jarvis Williams, how's it going? Continue to be online in my life. Oh man, appreciate it. Awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna get to that, and don't worry, I still have this information saved up for you. So I have that on here as well. How's it going, Tony Wright? So I I made this stream for one particular reason, and that's to say hello to y'all. But no, my other reason is to say hello to you, and to say hello to you, and to say hello to you. There we go. Let's get the people in here. Give them that time to shine. I Nah, it's too late, but I would probably do my real roll call maybe one of these weeks if it's not so hectic. But yeah, I did a bit of research because it's what I do when I'm bored. Um, but no, I mostly made this for the sole purpose of that, for the line of thinking that we have no chance to win this game. All right, this is what this stream is meant for. As for us to be like, no, like we actually have a legitimate chance. And let me show you where that happens at. So the first thing I wanted to do was take a look at Tampa Bay's offense. All right, because that's, oh man, that's the daunting thing. That's Tom freaking Brady or whatever that anyone wants to say. I wanted to question that because, well, as you can tell, I'm a Falcons fan, so I'm bound to not like them. And let me get this off the screen for a second. Let me get you guys to a spot where you can see that a little bit there. All right, so this is what this research is about. And I wasn't expecting to see myself behind it. No, but so what you're looking at right now is the amount of drives that Tampa Bay has had where they've had to go 70 or more yards this season. Now that's the entire sample size. Oh, excuse me. That's the entire sample size of this season. Now, what this is telling you is that in green is the amount of times that they've scored. Well, that's what the green score word means, duh. But below the punt is how many times they punted out of those amount of drives, and how many, and the TO stands for not Terrell Owens, but turnovers. So, yeah, 76 possessions out of 118 total where they have had to work 70 or more yards in order to score a touchdown. Now, that 32 out of 76 is how many times they've just scored. But if you subtract the 10 field goals they've kicked, it's only 22 touchdowns, which is about a 19% chance. Now, compare that to the amount of times what they've punted. Well, they've actually done more punts there in that span of in that region of the field than actually score. And you pair that up with turnovers, and that's almost a double chance of them not doing anything with the drive versus them actually doing something and putting points up on the board for them. But if they get closer, right? If they end up having a drive where it's 69, nice, or fewer, the stats dip. And it's very, very crucial. So the amount of touchdowns they've scored, it actually goes down to 19, but they've had 4 more field goals starting from fewer. They've had less punts because obviously she's got to freaking fly. But they've had almost amount of turnovers. As you can see, 9 out of 41 drives that started over in that distance. Compare that up. That's 17 to 41. That's a 41%. And in totality, this is the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL, and yet they are 41 out of 118% from scoring and all of their possessions. Now, sure, are we lower than that? Oh, absolutely. I haven't really researched that part of it yet because I wanted to feel optimistic. But what this tells me is that they're not the world beaters that everyone seems to think that they are. All right. And so what leads them to get to this point, right? Like what helps them out? Well, it's what I like to call BS. It happened. There was a couple of times where it happened actually in the last game that they played against Indianapolis. So if you remember the second half of that game, hi everybody, scared of the Falcons? Well, better be, especially over on the stream. All right. But yes, this, all right. What this looks like is essentially the play-by-play. And I kid you not, all this stuff happens in the second half. Like the second that Tampa Bay touches the ball. It's crazy. So I looked it up on the second half of the Tampa and Indy game. They had a 37-yard defensive pass interference call against Rock Ya-Sin. That pushed them way closer, and they got the touchdown out of that without the offense really having to do much. Then later in the game, they got a muffed punt that netted them 39 yards down the field. They kicked a field goal after that. So it's like they couldn't even completely capitalize on all the best things that happen to them that don't usually happen. And let's not even forget all the turnovers that they've gotten. So Braden Wilson says, you like Kyle Pitts? Of course I do. I got his jersey. He's one of the few players I actually have a jersey for. All right. I saved my money for that thing. Ty Bond says, we currently have the 9th seed. I know it's been rough for us at home, but week 2, that game was tied before the turnovers. Closely. It was 28-25 heading into the fourth quarter. But yeah, I like your optimism. I think we can pull it off too. You know, and even some Bucs fans are saying that, hey, this could be a trap game. Last game against Indianapolis, it sounded like a trap game to them. And if you haven't paid attention, they lost the trap game the last time against Washington. The Giants, they don't matter. But point is, this is the perfect time in order for us to get any semblance of a passing attack. And what I mean by that is, well, let me ask you guys the question: who's allowed more passing yards? The Falcons on a per game basis, the Falcons or Tampa Bay? I'm gonna see if I can get some answers for that. Wrong button. You'd think I'd be used to the camera angle. I'm never not. But yeah, who on a per game basis averages more passing yards against them? Is it the Falcons defense or is it Tampa Bay's defense? Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay. Yeah, it's been them. Kind of significantly, mind you. We are 14th and they are 20th. And it's not like, oh, well, you just add 5 more yards and no, there's actually a semblance of disparity. It got to the point where, yeah, we had Calvin Ridley back when we played them in week 2. Yeah, we had Hayden Hurst. But they also had a fully loaded defensive secondary too, so, to some certain extent. they're not as healthy as they were the last time we faced them. And guess what we have on our side that we haven't had? Freaking run defense. Like, yeah, it kind of reared its ugly head a little bit against James Robinson and sometimes against Trevor Lawrence, but it didn't get to the point where they were having games like Leonard Fournette. That's for sure. And if we run the ball against them, granted, Jonathan Taylor didn't have a great of a game, and if there's any one running back that would have a great game against Tampa Bay, it would have been them. He had a great drive, but yeah, that was kind of all he could do because they wanted to make Carson Wentz beat them, which he almost freaking did. When it got to the point where, like, Ashton Durlin or whatever his name was, when he steps in for one play and gets a 62-yard touchdown, anything is possible, right? Like, Bubblegum brings up another good point. Patterson hasn't been fully unloaded yet. He had his career high in rushing attempts and obviously rushing yards and obviously rushing touchdowns. That's because we made it a point of emphasis in order for us to, hey, just, what have we been always saying? Run the dang ball. Now it finally comes to fruition. And it's not a matter of, oh, well, our opponent was this and our opponent was that, right? No, like our offense was actually like fixing itself on the line. What do I think our record will be at the end of the season? Whew, I made some pretty bold predictions in my life. I don't know if right now is going to be one of them because that's the other strange part of this thing. All right. I don't feel comfortable talking. Yes, I brought up all these stats, and yes, and I'm on the stream, but that's not the point. The point is, whenever we say something, anything, the opposite happens. Remember a couple weeks ago, I was constantly ripping up on the 49ers? Now they're 6-5. They have a playoff spot? Washington has a playoff spot? Everyone in the AFC West has at least 6 wins? What? It's just the things that like you would say that you wouldn't say. It's been that kind of season to the point where yes, certain statistics can be pulled up, and then the exact opposite will happen. Like, here's another thing. Here's another thing I researched. If I can just pull it up here. I took a look at Tom Brady's passing yards in each game and seeing whether or not they were the result of where he was throwing, like the distance of the throw versus the receivers actually doing more of the dirty work. To my surprise, it was exactly what I was expecting, even when it was against us. All right, so let me read you a couple of the recent games that he's had. Well, actually, I wrote down all of them, so let's see. So the most recent game was obviously against Indy. Now, if I can find it, which my freaking other phone hasn't loaded for me yet. This is why I replaced you, dude. Point is, when the completed air yards, or CAY is what they call it on Pro Football Reference, when that is greater than the amount of yards after catch for Tom Brady this season, they've been 5-0. When the receivers do more of the dirty work and have more yards after catch than his actual completed air yards, they're 3-3. So what is that telling me? Well, that's telling me that they are purposely throwing short. And it's gotten to the point where it's almost pretty laughable how often they throw short versus what it does to, like, their passing stats and what the defense has to do against them. I took a look at the pressure rate of each game and compared it to their opponent. Because, yeah, Todd Bowles, he likes to blitz. But how often does he blitz and against who? So, Against Indianapolis, Tom Brady had a pressure rate of 11.1% of all of his dropbacks. Wentz, 22.4. Almost at, well, yeah, over doubled it. How about the Giants? He was pressured 10.6%. Daniel Jones, 42.5. Okay. Washington, the last game they lost, 11.8%. Well, yeah, it's higher. Okay. Heineke, 35%. New Orleans, they lost this game, 11.6. Trevor Siemian, 25.8. Jameis Winston, yeah, remember him, 14.3. Chicago, and this is where I just rolled my eyes over, 2.8% of the time. Chicago? Justin Fields, on the other hand, 20.9%. Philadelphia, 9.5% of the time. Jalen Hurts had 30.3%. Miami, 15.9% against them. That's pretty high. Jacoby Brissett, 28.6. New England. Belichick would know what to do against him, right? 13.3%. Mac Jones had 29.5 that game. Here's the interesting one. The week after they played us, in LA against the Rams, 18.3%. Wow, that's a jump. Matthew Stafford, 15.4. This is the only game where Tom Brady was actually pressured more than their opponent, and they lost badly. Huh. What about us? 15% of the time we pressured him. Matt Ryan, 20.8. Again, this is a week 2 Atlanta, and this is a week 2 Tampa. We are both, it is 11 weeks later, essentially. Yeah, we're both different teams at this point. Dallas, first game of the season, obviously, 6%. Dak Prescott, 14.5. So there's been an alarming rate of how often they've blitzed so far. But it's interesting to see that who they blitz and how often. Well, they've had Wentz at 20%, Daniel Jones at 40%, Heineke at 35%. Trevor Siemian, he's not a mobile guy, but he's 25.8%. Justin Fields is at nearly 21%. Jalen Hurts is at 30%. Jacoby Brissett is at 28%. Mac is at 30%. Ryan was at 20%. So if we can blitz them around that sort of rate, which now we have a rejuvenized Dante Fowler, who's gotten to him before, and like I said, we've dealt with our run defense. We've dealt with that problem up the middle by adding Anthony Rush and adding Mike Pennell Jr. We have some depth pieces now that are really quality in terms of, Adetokunbo Ogundeji. We have James Vaughters, and usually holds it down pretty well, and Brandon Copeland. But here's another interesting thing. All right, because what certain someones are saying. Well, you can't really blitz if they're constantly throwing it short. So that goes back to my other statement. When their completed air yards are greater than the yards after the catch, they've been undefeated. But there are certain games you want to pay attention to. One in particular was us. All right, so against us back in week 2, he had 276 passing yards. But what does that look like in terms of the completed air yards and the yards after the catch? Well, the yards after the catch was the second lowest of the season, and the only one that beat us in terms of that statistic was Chicago. But if you remember that game, They just ran out of area in order to work with because Justin Fields kept giving them, well, short fields. We didn't really do that as often. We did it a couple times, and yeah, they've instantly scored, but 188 yards after contact, or yeah, catches, completed air yards. Jeez, these CAY versus YAC stats are just really bothering me. But yeah, that is significantly lower on both spectrums. You know, and like CK22 brings up, we match up better than most people think. You know, last time Brady tried AJ Terrell, did not work out. And has our defense in the secondary at least improved since then? Fabian has stepped up. Jalen Hawkins has stepped up. Bro, Darren Hall. Avery Williams has stepped up. Richie Grant. He's looking pretty good. And how's that accumulated as of recently? Now I know we just played the Jaguars, but we also faced New England the week before. So in our last two games, we've only allowed 2 total touchdowns. That's improvement. That's improvement on the defensive side of the ball. All right. Now, what is surprisingly the most concerning thing about this matchup is what we would look like on offense against them. So I thought about that section. And if I take a look at Tampa Bay's injury report, as of right now, this could change, obviously. And, you know, I've seen instances where people have had like full practices and they still were considered out for the game. And then there's other guys that just like they don't practice throughout the week and then they start. So take this with a grain of salt for right now, for what you will. And understand that Antonio Brown did not practice today with an ankle injury. Jamel Dean did not practice with a concussion. Mike Edwards, hey, remember him? Did not practice with a knee injury. William Goldston, he's a depth piece on the defensive line. He did not practice with a wrist injury. Ali Marpet, probably one of their best offensive linemen. A limited practice with an abdomen injury. JPP, yeah, we all kind of know about him. He had a full practice with a shoulder injury. Vita Vea, definitely not his tooth, but rather his knee that helped him with a limited practice. And Devin White even ends up on this list with a quad, having a limited practice. Something tells me they're a little bit more banged up than we are in terms of the important pieces. Now, I know the last thing that everyone's going to point out is that, well, you guys are absolutely terrible at home. Moving on. So, what do we need to do on offense at the very least if we want to have a better chance at this game? So, remember, we have these statistics to look at, right? If I could just get this off there. And if I just get this off there. We have these statistics to look at. If we put them back and pin them back as much as we can, as often as we can, we'll have a better chance of winning because they don't really have a they don't have a whole lot of examples where they've taken the ball 70 plus yards in order to score a touchdown. Like I said, 22 times seems like a lot, but 19% of their actual possessions that they're given, and we've had a more stout defense than before. I'm liking what I'm seeing. So what do we have to do on offense? All right, I'm gonna let you guys have a minute because I am thirsty. All right, yeah. So G. Lou is saying run the ball well. CK saying we definitely need to win the position battle for sure. Which one in particular are you thinking of? Bridget Kelsey saying on offense, we need to be able to consistently be able to convert third and first, third and one, etc. Yeah, moving the ball and converting those yards. We weren't the best against it, but we're certainly improving. And that's all that we need to see. Right? Yeah, we got to get first downs. But how many, if you really think about it? Because the last time that we faced them, well, what ended up being our Achilles heel? It's a leg joke. But yeah, it's been shanked punts. It was shanked punts because we couldn't punt with like 20 yards. And it was obviously the two passes as well. Neither of those have really happened ever since then because, well, we positioned our offense a little bit differently. And we have no choice now because we're not the type of offense as we were when we started the season. Have a bit of injuries and obviously the thing with Calvin Ridley. It makes us limited. But we're not that limited. If you remember back to the Indianapolis game, anyone know who their leading receiver was? It's a position that we're really excited about moving forward. I feel like I was going to expect a quicker answer than this, but there's got to be some sort of latency here. Or just, make a stab in the dark. Because I actually didn't even know the answer until I looked it up. But yeah, well, I'm just gonna continue. It was Jack Doyle, their tight end. 6 catches, 80-something yards, touchdown. Sounds doable. It sounds like they might struggle a little bit with covering tight ends. Interesting. And you mean to tell me that some of the corner and one of their safeties and one of the linebackers and one of the defensive lines on both the interior and the exterior are a little bit banged up? So at the bare minimum, if we can make it to about the 40-yard line, because now we have Thomas Morstead, or maybe Dustin Colquitt makes a comeback from COVID. But fact of the matter is, we still need to worry about that position, but not right now. Because Thomas Moore said, as you guys know, he won the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. And yeah, for his first start this season, that's pretty freaking good. He averaged 44.5 yards per punt. But we gave him a little bit shorter fields, and he was able to coffin corner and pin the Jaguars inside the 20 at least 3 times. But remember, that's where their weakness is. Exactly. We don't have to worry about that anymore. We have a competent punter. So if you think about it, hey, pinning them back in this certain section of the field, it doesn't do all that great for them. They kind of have just as many punts / turnovers as they do actually producing points for them. And we have a semblance of a run game now. So how many yards do we need to get? And at the very least, each and every drive. Let's say that we're always starting at the 25-yard line. Or occasionally we'll start at the 20 because of a punt. Or, hey, sometimes we'll, even just like in Jacksonville, we had the Deron Harmon interception, brought us to the 1-yard line. Our very first play, quarterback sneak. I don't like that play. Anyways, yeah. At the very worst case scenario for our offense, we need to get to the 40-yard line. Get past the 40-yard line. Think about it. 40, 50, 40, 30, 20. 40 yards average punt. Could be more. Could be less. So I thought about that, right? Okay, so how many times has that happened to them where their opponent got to or past the 40? I mean, it's only like 15 yards from the starting field position. Like, it can't be that hard. At the very least, like, that's where you need to end your drive at the worst case scenario. Well, I went through the games again. Indianapolis got to or past the 40-yard line, or at least started from past the 40-yard line 10 times. That was a season high against their defense. You know, Falcoholic, yo, ball control. Got to keep your defense fresh and run the ball. Like it. I like it. The realest of reals says the win changes the whole season. It definitely does. Like, it puts a target on our back as far as the expectations that we have moving forward. Can we live up to them? Well, are you guys afraid of the Lions? You have some reason to be. Are you afraid of the 49ers? You have some reason to be. Are you afraid of the Panthers? Are you afraid of the Saints? I can't even say those things seriously. Bills? What type of Bills offense are we talking here? Are we going to get the Bills that just collapse sometimes? Or are we going to get the Bills that destroy for no reason? Got to think about it, because they've had both happen to them pretty consistently. So, yeah, the Buffalo's offense is the equivalent of consistently inconsistent. So you don't know what type of offense you're going to get from there, but you also got to remember that's an away game. What have we been so good at? Our only strength so far has been playing away from, our own crowd. Just saying. I'm just saying. It makes certain sense. It makes certain amount of sense at some point. Right. The away games have been better for us. That's an away game. 49ers are an away game. Carolina's going to be an away game. I feel good about those odds. We got Tampa as a home game. We got the Lions as a home game. We got New Orleans as a home game. New Orleans seems to be even more banged up than the were the week before, to the point where even the Bills, like I just said, they put 31 up on them. All right, and we just beat them. Their record is the same as ours, so they haven't been much to be afraid of. The Panthers, good God, have you seen Cam Newton? Oh, good to have you back, Cam. Good to have you back. Just do a couple of those performances against us, and you will be just fine for us. All right. I'm just saying. Whew. And yeah, like having that self-confidence that you're gonna, hey, get yourself out of this rut, and hey, let's do something with what we have. Is that going to be the passing game? Scratch that. All right, because the last 2 weeks before that, no, just no. Run game? Hey, we got it. We didn't have that last time. All right, run defense? I mean, theirs has been number one in the league, but that's only because, well, look what they faced. They've always had to pass against them. It's like Jonathan Taylor had 83 yards. Carson Wentz had about 21 yards. So they had like an extra, like the 100-yard game against them in totality. And that's exactly what we were able to do. Like 150 something yards against Jacksonville. That's a head start. And that's something that we can use with our momentum moving forward. So they're going to have to come up with a different game plan than they did last time that they faced us. It's just something to think about. Yes, it's a home game, and that's been the one stigma that we just couldn't fight. But if I remember correctly, wasn't there another Atlanta team that had to defy a lot of odds in order to be who they ended up becoming? I just can't put my finger on it. And I know what you're going to say. Well, it's a different sport. Shut up, dude. It's Atlanta. All right? Like, every single professional team has had that same kind of stigma at a certain point. You know, obviously, we got to think about this we got to think about this segment too. It's what we do in the fourth. It's all about, hey, that's when the BS meter spikes. But okay, well, think about this. 40-yard passing, 40 yards passing downfield against us. Has that ever happened? Not this season. What was the stat line for Chris Godwin last week? Disappeared, kind of. Gronk had a game, and that's having Deion Jones is back. Hopefully he's on pace to be. Having him back, along with the experience that Michael Walker just picked up there. Just saying. And you take a look back at our game against Jacksonville. What were those kind of passing yards that Trevor Lawrence was able to get against us? Weren't they like rollouts? Yeah, that's not in the arsenal. Brady has had this stigma against him where he will 4-yard you to death. And our lowest game, and basically their lowest game in terms of yards after catch has been against us. All right, so Dean Pease knows this guy. He knows what they want to do. Okay? Like, that's no secret. And you think about it, we've actually we had to stop them. Like the only thing, we stopped them a couple of times. Like, we had 3 and outs against Tampa already, and that was before we were even trying to be good. Now we're trying. We had to light a fire under our keister. And guess what? It's done well for us so far. Evans and Godwin had blocking duties. Yeah, but I can't imagine that'd be the same exact scenario. Because Brady's going to want to try to test our corners again, seeing he had no success against AJ Terrell. It's just a thought. That's all it can be so far. All right, like, whether you want to argue against me, that's all it's been so far. What's up, Asia? But yeah, I've already kind of finished a lot of my thought process already. But to give you a recap, Asia, here's to let you know what's going on. If you take a look at this chart, this little thing that I made, it's basically just to quickly recap for anyone that's tuning in. If you give Tampa Bay 70+ yards to work with on offense, they really struggle with it. And as a matter of fact, they have more turnovers than actually they've either given up with the punt or they've turned the ball over more often from way back there than they've actually scored. Touchdowns and field goals included. But give them a shorter field than that, they'll end up doing better. Now, I had to put it this way because I initially did the 70+ and then the 69 to 50 and then anything below 50. But there just wasn't a sample size for both of those scenarios, surprisingly enough. Like the total number of the denominator for the Tampa Bay Drive 69 and fewer was 41. Yeah, that's still not a good enough sample size. So I just combined them together. And yeah, it turns out that here's something you actually didn't see. But when I made this list, like I said, I made it into 3 different sections. And the percentage wise, as you can see, like the Tampa Bay drive 70 greater than or equal to 70 yards, 29%. All right. And that's, including the field goals and touchdowns, right? Um, if you give them 69 to 50 yards to work with, same exact percentage of scoring, 29%. So a lot of this other stuff, like a lot of the touchdowns, well, yeah, it was because they had a shorter field to work with. And you also got to think about who they faced so far at the time that they had their opponents. You know, because one thing I'm thinking about is, well, they faced the Colts when they were 6-5. At the time, they didn't have a record when they faced Dallas. When they played New Orleans, they lost. When they played the Rams, they lost. Seems to me that when they face a little bit more quality opponents, and I don't know if I can say the same thing for the Colts because, well, they've also had the benefit of having some easier games on the schedule. But it's just a matter of, well, who's on the up and who's on the down. We certainly got the worst end of the stick on a couple of weeks. But we got back up, and we've taken more kneecaps than Dan Campbell has ever seen in his life. And hey, Bo knows. If we win this game, I think we'll make the playoffs. That momentum, that spark, playing meaningful games in December, you don't think that's going to do something to the mentality of the team? I'm just saying. Alcoholics and Debo, Foye, Walker, they're the biggest keys. Brady loves to dump off. If we control that, I think we'll be okay. And again, we did that in week 2 when we didn't know what the heck we were doing. Like I said, 88 yards after contact. That was the lowest that they have in the season, if you don't count Chicago, which, the reason I don't count that is because they just ran out of field. Yeah, when they had a normal game, they're not that great. All right. Here's another example. Against the Rams, all 10 of their possessions started from 70 or more yards. All 10 of them. They lost. They couldn't score enough points. Against Washington, they had 5 of those instances. It seems a little small of a number there, but it's what they did. They had more punts / turnovers than they did actually scoring from back there. And hey, I think that our secondary is actually finally learning how to catch the freaking pass when it's in the air. I think we'll have that to our advantage. Brady likes to get rid of the ball fast. But getting rid of the ball fast means that they're not going to push the ball downfield that much. They had to learn that lesson the last time too. Which is why they were one of the last teams to actually go deep against our team. And even then, it wasn't that deep, and our secondary was so much different from what it is now. And that's another thing too. It's like we got to play disciplined football. At the end of the day, we'll know all of this knowledge, but it's not going to help us if we can't be disciplined in ourselves. So making sure that we treat this as if it's a sprint, and knowing that, hey, if you do any little thing can mess up. It's like watching someone with speed run. It's like they just one mistake and that's all it takes, and they got to restart the count. That puts a lot of pressure on you, and that's why a lot of teams can't do it. But if there's anyone to calm this defense down and to calm our offense down, it's going to be the guys that we have calling the plays here. It's going to be Dean Pease and Arthur Smith because they've also had that mentality where it's like, I don't care. Like, and having that emotion stable and having your emotions stable on the field, that's going to do a lot of wonders too. Now, I know it's a very passionate rivalry, being that we're both 28 and 28 against each other. But again, it's stuff like this that's going to make you play harder. And when you play harder, you'll play smarter. You'll have to do that. And when you play smarter, you can play faster. And it all comes together that way. So it's a part of playing that complementary football, making sure that we're complementing ourselves, making sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position in order to at least stop their offense or progress ours. Because I don't feel like they're going to have the same type of game against us that we did, where they're just going to be scoring 35 points on offense. I don't see that happening. And even then, that was like 28 points, so they had to score anything past, like, right there. So, anyone that says, I'm a Ryan fan, but he needs to throw just a wee little bit ahead of his wide receivers. Just saying. Is that like on crossing routes or just like throwing it deeper? Because I've noticed a couple of plays where I had a feeling that he could have done that too. That like initial like 3rd and 7 against Mike Davis when he was like doing the dump off pass, like that was just egregious. Like I don't care who you are, that was just a terrible throw. But there hasn't been a whole lot of those. And yeah, he can miss a couple of things, but you also got to remember who he's working with. He's got a first-round tight end, which a lot of people didn't agree with us having. We have Cordero Patterson. And oh boy. But yeah, it's been a rotation there at both, our run-heavy system, a pass-heavy system. Getting Keith Smith involved in the passing game, I think, was good enough for us as far as like an attitude that we'll set early on. And then that carried over later in the game. We just felt more physical than the Jaguars because we started something first. We had our first spark. And if we add that to the mix of us playing a lot better than we have normally, having a bit more semblance of a defense, and above all, having a defense that to go up against that, well, they're a little bit banged up right now. And even at their best, they haven't been that great at defending the yards. John McKimmy's got a minute. It's like, yeah, our own lane play actually performed really well. Now, it goes back to the question about what the heck are we going to do with Drew Dalman and Matt Hennessy moving forward. But I think having that kind of game, it let Arthur Smith know that, yeah, these guys are both competitive. They both want to be on the field. They're both fighting for the roster spot and the starting spot, of course. But what are their strengths? Athletically, like physical, from like a frame standpoint, they're pretty similar. Drew Dalman is a little bit more athletic, but they're pretty similar. And when Brady's pressured, that when he starts messing up and throwing interceptions and stuff, he's a normal quarterback. Like you said, as long as Debo, Foye, Walker step up, we should be good. And Falcoholic also says that my fear is being conservative. Up 21-3 in the Jags, 24 in the Saints, up 10 by the Dolphins, up 10 by the Jets. All late in the games, Pease has to keep foot on the pedal. I don't think it's also just Pease. I also think it's been Arthur Smith. You got to remember that we've had a couple of games where we were conservative on the offensive side too. Where, hey, yeah, we could have had a little bit more yards. We could have had a couple more extra plays. So, but each scenario is different. When it comes to situations like that, They've all been different. And with the Jags, they didn't really do much. They scored one touchdown and had one more field goal, but they had more chances to score more points, but we stopped them. Got to remember that. 24-6 up against the Saints. They had a lot of things going their way at the last couple of minutes of the game. Upset by the Jets, they weren't going to come back. That's what the score looked like, but the game itself didn't play to that point. It didn't feel as close as it did on the scoreboard. And up 10 by the Dolphins, there was a couple more mistakes. Yeah, not gonna admit, but it's like the interception of like Xavier Howard like rolling on top of Calvin Ridley and whatnot, and then Matt having nowhere else to go with the football. Yeah, and he holds on to it a little bit too long, ends up fumbling right on the sideline. Dolphins pick it up and they go ahead and score again. But what were all of these types of plays after that, though? We, on the offense, had to stick the foot on the pedal, too. I can always just run behind Matthews. Yeah. I mean, what's his opponent? Is it going to be like JPP? Is it going to be Shaq Barrett? Is it going to be Joe Tryon-Shoyinka? Because they got depth there at the defensive end spots, too. But yeah, like you mentioned, we are progressing, and that's all that matters. Making sure that we're improving ourselves, it bolsters your confidence levels. Not to the point where you're going to think too highly of yourself, but also not to the point where you're just going to think that, oh well, this is just a fluke and everything's been a fluke and we're actually like the worst 5-6 team in NFL history. I don't know who's been saying that, guys, but thanks a lot, Jameris. That's what it was. I've been watching a couple of your videos too. So yeah. 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 Make sure to check these guys. Make sure to check these guys out, man. Hard work 20. I like it. But hey, this is the kind of stuff that we would like to see, though. Making sure that people doubt us. I remember seeing this one, or I remember hearing this one quote about like a race and whatnot. Like, how would you put a story mode in a racing game? Every once in a while, I try these like these tangents and whatnot, and I'm hoping that they stick, or these illustrations / examples / whatever the heck I want to call it. How the heck do you make an antagonist in a racing game? Well, what you have to do for the antagonist in that game is to constantly have everyone else prop them up as if they can't fail. Whereas you, on the other hand, you're the underdog. You're like the 11 or 12-point underdog this time around. And it's your kind of story that people need to take note. And it's your kind of story that people need to take attention to. And it's that feeling of, yeah, I've conquered you. That's the mentality that we need to have. So go ahead and put us wherever you want on your power rankings list. All right? We have a mentality in the city now that once we see the odds that are against us, we don't care. All right? And that's how it should be. We shouldn't have to care about the odds of like, oh, you missing the playoffs or you doing anything else. If I remember correctly, there was a certain other team in Atlanta. I don't want to bend my head too much. There was a certain other team in Atlanta that had the same situation happen to them. As long as you give yourself a fighting chance, you're going to be good to go. And that's all we need. All right. I'm sick and tired of having all these people saying that we have no chance to win this game because it's the great and powerful Tampa. I guess the freaking Wizard of Oz, but they're not that. They're not who everyone else advertises them to be. All right. And you can check these stats out for yourself on Pro Football Reference. You don't need to do a whole lot of things fancy. You just got to take a look at the drives of each game. Take a look at their time of possession, or take a look at their line of scrimmage, like their starting field position. How many net yards do they usually gain? What kind of outcomes do you see? How many drives do they have? Like I said, when you look at it, like even the Chicago Bears, who they blew out 38-3, they had 7 possessions where they got past the 40-yard line. You know, sometimes that's all it takes. Falcons have to close these games out with the running attack, and that's kind of what we did actually a couple of times in this season actually. But that has been largely absent, so that's why we think we're struggling to close out games. Well, the games that we've lost, they haven't really been that close. I can think of like 1 or 2 examples, but I have 5 more examples to combat that. Hopefully we can see more of Michael Walker on the field after his good performance last week against Jacksonville. My only problem for him is that I want to see Deion Jones a little bit more, because, yeah, it's a matter of, well, do you play the guy that Brady has the least amount of tape on versus the guy that Brady has the more amount of tape on, but that guy also has more experience on your defense? Well, I want both of them to be an option, and as long as that's the case, I will be fine. I don't have to worry about our defense facing them. I only have to worry about our offense facing their defense. And, is Carson Wentz and the Colts offense that strong of an opponent when Jonathan Taylor hasn't been working out lately? No. But they got 31 points anyways. I was hoping the Bucs would win the Colts game, so they walked in with an ego. Well, I also wanted to, yeah. As a little bit of backwards logic, but I see where you're going with it, just to make sure. You had me in the first half, not gonna lie. That I catch the history of the Falcons video. I caught a little bit of it. I already kind of knew most of it, but it's great to see like them just like chilling around in like what seems to be like the locker room and just like retelling the stories. But speaking of the mentality of the team, we need to create an identity of ourselves. We're also the type of, we also changed our uniforms pretty recently and have had a new regime come in, and they also kind of went 5-11 the first year, but the next year, the year where they were actually able to do something, what happened? They got the mentality back. With the red gun and the black wave defense, the red gun offense and the black wave defense, they started something. Was the team as a whole good? But they had an attitude. They had a mentality that we did not care about you. And that's what made us the rudest team in NFL history. If we can capture some of that coming over here, play to our capabilities, make sure that we play to our strengths, right? Keep them honest on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah. One last thing. All right. now that I've propped a couple of people up, how many points do you guys think that we need to score in order to win this game? I'm not talking about like the score predictions for Tampa Bay. I'm just talking about like, hey, if we hit this number, we feel good about winning. And don't go crazy. Go honest. All right. Don't be like, if we score 100 points, yeah, we'll be okay. But no. Like, be realistic. Be honest with yourself. How many points do we need to score in order to feel good about where we are? As I wait for these comments, I'm going to go back. As I wait for those comments, I'm going to go back to some of these ones. All right. So the real world is saying 24 points. Roger Kelsey's saying 30. I'm saying 24, 30, 30 plus 21, 48. Well, let's get some more. 24. Remember all the touchdowns that we haven't allowed in the past 2 weeks, though. You know, even against New England, as dominant as they felt, they scored one offensive touchdown. All they did was kick field goals against us. Got to remember, it was like 3-0. Then it was the 10. Then it was 13. Then 16. Then 19. Then who knows what through a pick to who knows who. But you know, obviously more is a better chance because 27 defense has been better than the late as of late than the stats might suggest. I do believe that too. I do believe that there isn't as much of a disparity when it comes to certain numbers too, where it's like if you subtract 10 from what Tampa Bay has as far as like average rushing yards again allowed them. Let me start that sentence over. If you subtract 10 yards to the average rushing yards allowed, or if you add 10, actually, I should say that. Jeez, I got to start this sentence somebody else. We'll have the same defensive stats in terms of the run defense. And that's what they constantly prop up. We're 10 yards away from that. And subtract 10 yards away from that, we have the same exact statistic. So, is it more confident? Is it weird that I'm more confident in our defense and our offense as of late? I'm in the same boat as you then. And I don't think that's weird. It's weird thinking about how our offense has been in the past. But there's some certain stigmas that you got to wipe out. All right? Because it's not fair in order to keep the same kind of mentality with the new regime coming in. Knowing that we're winning the games that we didn't, but we're also losing the games that our losses look a lot different. And it's those types of losses that make sure that you realize how good a win feels. Against I don't care. But we have the number that we have, and we have a chance in order to cash it in for a playoff spot. Because right now, the guys that holds the 7th seed doesn't even have a name. You say 27 because of her fourth quarter woes. Might need a little cushion heading into that. Again, they weren't all that great against certain other offenses. And if we could just be competent, like I said, and make sure that our offense stays on the field as long as possible, the BS meter won't go up as much. Because you better believe that BS meter is going to go up, especially as we get closer to the playoffs, where it is at its all-time high. All right? But yeah, having Cordell Patterson back and healthy for this type of game makes you feel a lot better. I'm glad that it does. If we get in the playoffs, nobody will want to face us because, let's be honest, we won't have anything to lose, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I get it. And you just don't know, right? Like, you don't know until the game has been played. What we always say. Hey, when the playoffs happen, everyone's 0-0. And it's a matter of who the heck is more desperate than who in order to advance. Now, I've been torn. If I'm being honest with myself, I've been torn on the two different opinions about, like, oh, well, do I want this to be a season where Matt Ryan drags this corpse of a team in order to add another loss to his playoff statistic number? And I got to the point where it's like, I don't care about that. Again, it's like it's about the statistics. It's about the odds. It's about making sure that you have that mentality that you just don't care. You know, a lot of people have that mentality about a lot of things where they actually should care. And if you put that kind of mentality, if you put that kind of attitude to good use, it just might surprise people. You know, and that's another thing too. These stats have been great to look at. These stats have been a little bit refreshing for ourselves. But that's all they are. They don't play. These numbers, they don't play in the game. They don't show up and suit up and are on the field. It's our players. And our players have heart. They're excited about playing meaningful football for a couple of years, after a couple of years of not being able to do that. You know? So, you want to play Dallas? Whew. Well, I mean, it wouldn't surprise us if they ended up just laying yet another goose egg. Yeah, like that's another thing too. It's like those types of people, they're always going to be the loudest too. Not in the sense where they should be, you know, not showing up to the games, remind you, but they're just going to have the mentality where it's like, yeah, I knew all along and blah blah blah. But you know, that that's also gotten to the point where it's just like, you know what, I just don't care either. So yeah, I think this is the most even playing field in the NFL has had in a while. Honestly, there's been a couple of games where it's like, yeah, it's been really controversial this season too, with like taunting penalties and roughing the passer penalties, and like I said, Tom Brady's got a BS meter with him at all times when it comes to certain games like this. Um, so there's just certain unavoidable things that can occur in this game, but if you don't care about the odds stop existing. You know? So that was my spiel. Um, burnt myself out for a second. But overall, how are we feeling now? The Packers make the playoffs, they'll likely end up playing the Packers. But remember, it would be an away game. It would be an away game. What happened the last time we faced Green Bay? Adding that 7 seed definitely helped that mentality of teams who in the past would be eliminated by this time. Championship is up in the air. Yeah, and then there's still teams that get shafted anyway, like the 10-6 Dolphins last year. uh, yeah, like knowing that there's going to be a team that's going to have another winning record in the AFC, but because they just don't have enough teams over there to be able to compete in the playoffs, like some good teams are just going to miss out. Yeah, they didn't really like that over here in the NFC, where we have 5 and 7 teams galore coming in here and trying to be like, oh yeah, I think I got a chance now, you know, and we could be one of those teams. And it's like even if we lose, we're still out of it because there's a lot of other teams that just have that mentality, and a lot of those teams are facing each other. You know, so whew. So again, how we feeling, folks? How we feeling? Because I got the sense that even if we lose, we have a better chance of just improving ourselves to know that, hey, we were up against a quality opponent for the most part. Like I said, you go back to who's Tampa's faced so far. They struggle with some mediocre teams too. All right. Haven't caught up on the team Usenet. Any chance we get in Deion Jones back for this game? That's probably going to be more determined on Friday, but it's going to be one of those things where, yeah, I'm not going to know now because the injury reports are going to be a little bit shoddy in terms of like facts. But yeah, nice to know that we got some optimism going in this chat. Given the fact that like all these other streams have just been bombarded with a bunch of trolls recently, it's nice to know that at a certain time, hey, they stop happening. I prefer to play away if we make the playoffs. Yeah, we ain't got no choice at that point because the Falcons haven't won a game since. Yeah, it wasn't against Denver though. It was against I keep saying Oakland, and I'm not going to correct myself anymore. I don't care. The season was already success. Most thought we have 2 wins. No. We got the 0-17 crowd. Remember them? I think this is going to be our first win at home in a long time. Speaking into existence, you better do it. Because, well, guess what? There's going to be Tampa fans on the other side saying all this other stuff about, it's just Falcons. We can just blow right past them and all that kind of stuff. It's the Oakland Raiders to me, and I'm in Cali, all right? So my opinion stands because I got a lot of Raiders fans. But yeah, go ahead and try it because, again, they're going to say all this kind of nonsense on their side too. So if we speak our stuff into existence a little bit louder, I think our odds will definitely be on our favor if we were to care. There are so many NFC teams in the total toss-up. Have the Lions still been eliminated yet? Because I haven't even seen those type of things yet. May not have won many home games, but when's the last time we had a full stadium? Ooh. Energy is contagious, which is why we play better away. Hey, just having a freaking crowd to play in just makes you feel better. If you're just around like a team and all you see are a bunch of people that are just like on their phones, like chilling in the background, just being like, how the heck are you gonna feel any better about a good play that happened? When the stadium feels emptier than when COVID happened and prevented people from going in. How? What do you have to do to heat up our offense outside of Patterson? Well, give it to Patterson even more. I think it's going to be a situation where, hey, we're going to do it until you stop it. If you stop it quicker, well, we're just going to have to change our punches. But whatever we do, we can't give this impression that we're not good enough in order to win. Because that's where they can come in with their emotions and start to feel it. All right, because they're the rival and they're the ones that are going to finally try to usurp our record and being better than us overall. It's crazy to think that we have more wins against the Saints. We have more wins against the Panthers than they do against us. We have just as many wins against the Bucs than they have against us. And yet we're still considered the laughingstock of the division. I think we're gonna have to change that. So, and I think that this right now is going to be the game to do it. And remember, typically in these types of seasons, Brady will still have one more just goose egg of a game. That has not happened yet. It will happen. There is going to be a game where he's just going to suck. Who's got the best chance of making that happen? I think it's going to be the team that faced him against once before, has more tape on him, and I'm talking about Dean Pease, puts this team in a better position in order to, wrap up, tackle. going on here? The Lions went out. I think they can make the wild card. Wow. Well, a lot of other things have to happen too, but you're saying, so you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, and we also got to remember, like, we have guys like Dorian Etheridge and Emmanuel Ellaby too. I'd like to see his target pitch downfield, even if he doesn't catch. Hopefully, he can draw a foul. Yeah, get the BS meter on our side. Give Brady a taste of his own medicine. See how he likes it. But yeah, like I said, like Jack Doyle was the leading receiver for the Colts. It's not like the Colts have like the number one wide receiver room. Their best guy was Michael Pittman, who, although he's a big body and he's actually pretty good at times, he didn't really show up. That's that tie. It's that pesky tie that just couldn't. Oh my gosh. Well, you say that, but the Panthers are even worse than us. So you miss me with that. Calling yourself a Hawks fan, but you have a Seattle Supersonics logo on your profile. We need a blitz with timing every other play. I do like the sound of that. It's just tough because we always have like the ability in order to tackle like close to the line of scrimmage with our secondary. You know, like Terrell's shown it a little too hard, but Fabian's shown it, Darren Hall's shown it, Jalen Hawkins shown it, like Avery Williams has shown it, like everyone that we put back there or on the sidelines, they've shown to tackle and wrap up. It's more so Gronk, the human golden retriever himself. It's more so him that causes some teams problems, and he literally just did with the Colts too. And also, you got to realize that Leonard Fournette still exists. But if they use that same game plan, we'll know how to stop it, because they're going to have to force them to get plays, to make plays. All right? So, because it's not like their wide receivers are going to do anything against us. Not now. They had short fields and they had all sorts of other things to their advantage the last time. But our secondary has definitely stepped up ever since. But also in the game, and don't run Patterson on the ground. That's the other thing that we got to worry about. You know, Cordell Patterson, the running back, wide receiver, strong safety, kick returner, punt returner, backup left tackle, backup quarterback, because he throws every pregame. Got backup kicker, you got backup punter, you got backup linebacker, backup pass rusher. Yeah, he should. Any other team that he goes to, he would probably definitely be like the best or like the highest paid player, unless they want to shaft him like the Saints did with Taysom Hill, and now they're forcing him to play quarterback in order to get his contract up. So the Fox Weekend show on Thanksgiving morning here, Jimmy Johnson and their host Kurt McAfee stayed on the record. The Detroit Lions will get their first win against the Falcons in 3 weeks. You won't forget that they said this. Bulletin-board material, folks. Arizona won. No offense to them, but shouldn't the Panthers be laughing stock of the bit? Yeah, I just said that. So, but yeah. All right, we're even now. They're gonna eat crow because it ain't happening. Like that falling spirit. Ali Al-Khatib. Glad that you commented, because for those of you that don't know, he is going to be one of our new writers. Yeah, I stopped trying once I realized that no one watches it. But he's got a different spin on it, all right? And he needs your guys' help in order to do so. So, Ollie, if you're still here, tell these people what you're going to want to do moving forward and when they can expect to see you. Oh, yeah. That's sweeping the Saints is a must every single year, regardless of what our record is. John Brooks, how's it going? Smash that like. Nice, nice, nice. Go Falcons, go Falcons. Let's go to this dub against the Bucks. All right. So, yeah, let the people know, Ali, because got to get them familiar with you. All right, he's going to be doing some more fan engagement stuff. What could that be? What's an example that you have in mind? I don't mean to put you on the spot here in front of everyone, but it's nice to know that because, you're going to need to talk to these people. So, I'll have to build up the fan base. Nice, nice, nice. He will also be consistently around this time as me. Now, he's still a Georgia native, unlike me. I'm in Cali, but he can, I don't know, you might. Can I join the live section somehow? That I. Let's see. Sorry. I think this is how they do it. Ollie, hop on. That way you can introduce yourself. Do I have my own YouTube channel? It might be in the works. As long as I get my freaking computer, which they canceled the order on me and they didn't even tell me. How's it going, Antonio? Yeah, I got that for now. But yeah, there was a couple of things that I had in mind for my own stuff. What? See, going. And hey.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hey, what's up, Noah?
How's it going, Ollie?
Good, man. Good. Oh, fun! It's exciting to join the Atlanta Falcons Nation.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Yeah. So, yes, you're right. I'm a Jordan native. I'm here in Atlanta, or Dunwoody, at the moment. Um, I'm going to be working or going to be trying to help out in those hours because of my hectic work schedule. But yeah, I'm excited. I'll be writing more about fan engagement. And building the fan base. And I will tell you all this. I did not, I never played football, but I did compete in other sports. And one of the other sports that I competed with, and in my opinion, it is the most competitive sport out there, which is Dutch style kickboxing or Muay Thai, Thai boxing, etc. Because man to man, going 1-1, and I actually left it to the undefeated record. But I will tell you all this fan base, seeing people out there cheering my name, etc. That really helps. And the one thing right now with bothering me with Atlanta Falcons fan base is people like waste time out of their lives to go and comment on Facebook posts and to call out the team and say, trash talking. What team want to? What player want to play for that kind of fan base? Because at the end of the day, like the Falcons players, their loyalty is for the fan base, and the fan base plays a huge role in it. And I just So I'm targeting the fan base. I will be mostly trying to engage more on the fans and trying to push forward. If and I want everyone's help, honestly, because I, we think of it, as best way I'm going to describe this is, imagine if you have your hand was broken and you have your bone sticking out. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to stop the bleeding, and you have to stop the bleeding with those bad
Our first
fans.
answer was scream.
Yeah, well,
But different pain tolerances, I guess. Uh,
Um, so yeah, I'm be writing to engage more in the fan base. I'm going to be trying to bring back, as you said, build that fan base. I'll bring that personality. And Ayers, I'm good, doing good. How are you? So I'm just looking at the chat right now.
yeah, we got Brian Peoples that wanted to say
Oh,
hello. Bridget
hey,
Kelsey that want to say hello. CK22.
hi everyone.
Everybody else, we got quite more people here.
Awesome. Um, so that's what I'll be doing. I'll be focusing more on the fans and building up the fan base and bringing that. And the other thing I want to address is, and I have no idea what the cool thing is, and there is zero expectation in this, but I do want to try and get out a message somehow to Arthur Blank about the ticket prices, because I see a lot of people complaining about the ticket prices and saying we just can't afford tickets. So I don't know if there's something that can be done. Go ahead.
If you don't mind me asking, what are the actual ticket prices? Because I don't know.
If you go, so at the minimum it's $100, and that's like for almost the worst seats.
Okay.
Up in the third row. I mean, I can afford them, and I've been going to every game, but I know a lot of people can't. I mean, people have other expenses to spend on, and if you want to sit close down to the field, where people are always posting pictures where the seats are empty, you're looking to pay between $2 to $400, depending on the seat. And I understand not anyone can afford that, and that's one of the main reasons why we not having many people show up.
Yeah.
And yes.
Oh, sorry to cut you off, but one thing that I've noticed is that they've tried to compensate that with making everything else cheaper. Like everything that you can buy in the food and drinks, it's like $2. That was the last time I heard. Right? Is that still going on? Is that still the case?
I mean, that's going on. That's but
like the parking and everything. But to add to your mentality of the team, Jamaris wanted to say hello too. But the mentality of the team also begins with having that controlled emotions where, hey, I'm going to spend $100 here not because that I think that they're like I'm going to be all riding high and mighty on the roller coaster of emotions that I have if they win, and then just like feel super depressed and if they lose. It should be about setting a standard. You have a new head coach, you have a new GM, you have an updated roster. It's refreshing, and it's nice to know that there's people that still, even though that it's expensive for them, they are making that sacrifice, they're making that investment in order to make a point that, hey, if you were there at the stadium, guess who's going to hear you? It's going to be Arthur Blank in the fourth quarter, because that's where he is.
Yeah.
It's going to be the players themselves.
Yeah.
If you want them to play better, go to the freaking game and show out.
And I understand. I fully understand, but I can't tell people to come to a Falcons game overpaying for their groceries, for example. And that's what I'm hearing from some people. Or paying for their children's health, or whatever.
When it comes to life stuff like that,
yeah,
I understand. Like you have other needs to take care of, and that the economy isn't really what it should be in more ways than one. Because COVID and everything that they're doing in order to like usurp everyone's prices and whatnot. That's why millions of people are quitting the jobs, because it's like, hey, I'm actually getting more benefits not working than if I were to actually work. So there's different things about that. What were you going to add to it?
No. I mean, I agree with you. At the same, but I mean, it's not just the prices at the end of the day. There's a lot of factors that we have to address. A lot of people are saying that, oh, we only go when they win. Well, I don't want these kind of people there. I don't want those bandwagon fair weather fans, and I want real respect and real loyalty fans, and that's the kind of what we want to target. And we need to build. And you're right, we need to build that personality around the team. We need. Every team has its own like, personality of a fan base. Like, with the Bills, you have the Bills Mafia, the Eagles. Have any of you all go to an Eagles game in their homeland? And you're dressed in like any other team's jersey or so, they will fight you. They will, like, the fans will fight you there. And we need that here and in the home stadium, man. We need our fans out there and cheering.
Brandon Price had this to say. He says, I feel like
Yes.
ticket prices are low relative to other teams. Well, so I already bought my tickets to the 49ers game because that's like the closest game that I can go to that's still a Falcons game.
Yes.
And if I wanted to get like the poor like nosebleeds and whatever, it's the same exact price. And
Right.
they're still a playoff team, or a playoff bound team is what they're striving to be. Like,
Right.
they're 6-5. They have a better record, and they have a pretty easy schedule ahead of them too. So it's like they can make a run for it if they can, and yet their prices are still the same. Their stadium also looks pretty good, all things considered. Their environment, like where the stadium is next to, it's right next to a Great America, which is an amusement park. It's like being over there is really cool.
Yeah.
I hate the team, and I want to do everything in my power in order to show them that I hate them. So, and I've had to shell out like $400 in order to get my stadium tickets for 2 people, and I'm still saving up money for $300 in order to rent a car because I'm under 25, and renting a car is going to give you that, like, oh, you're a minor, so here's an extra $75 to your bill because I don't like you because you're young, and it's like there's a lot of stuff that I'm still having to fight in order to go to the game as well. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm just honest because I'm reading the comments over here of people saying. I personally am showing up to every game. The only game I've missed was the Pats game over Thanksgiving because I had another thing to attend to. But I'm just really, that's what people are writing in the comments over the different groups I'm in for the Falcons. That's the main complaint I'm hearing from everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what I want to say because just to respond to the comments.
Right, and it's also the mentality where it's like, oh, well, if you do something, then I'll root for you. No, you're not. You're always going to find an excuse. You're going to find an excuse.
Yeah,
you're going to blame the opponent. You're not going to praise the team.
And like that, one other thing I want to do is talk about is the when other teams visit us, we want our players to either beat them or the other players know they're going to leave hurt. Like they're going to be leaving beat up or injured or so. And we need to cheer our players up like that.
All right. Jay Marissa is saying, where is a poor reason why we're not showing it to the stadium? Oh, yeah, we can afford a brand new video game console, a pair of Jordans, a brand spanking new Madden game every year. It's like, if you are a part of the mentality, you'll find ways in order to overcome these obstacles that might prevent you from not going. It's a Sunday, so chances are you're not going to be working there. You're not going to be working that weekend. Hopefully you can work well enough so that you don't have to worry about pushing things to overtime so that you would miss that day. You should be taking care of your families every single day and not make it a priority for one day of the week. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in that, and I don't even have a freaking family of my own. So I just know that, where your location is. Like, hey, I've only gotten to see, this would be the second Falcons game I've ever gone to. That's only because I'm over where I'm at, and I'm a victim of my location. And some people, they are not a victim of their location, but they're still finding all sorts of excuses as to not to go.
Right. Go ahead. Sorry.
I already lost my thought, so go ahead.
I just wanted to say I did read a comment about the PSLs, and then a lot of people that are buying those player season tickets are actually going on resale for a higher price. Like people who go on StubHub or so and buy those tickets just to resell them at a higher price because they know some people want to go, and something in that case needs to be done about it as well. People who just hoard tickets just to sell them and leave fans not coming to the stadium.
That's gonna be another fight that I'm. It's gonna take more than one fan base in order to conquer that
I
ego.
got you. I got you. I mean, it's just something which I want to try to, and what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to get the word out there, but that's not just it. I mean, again, we need to build that personality, build a fan base. Um, Ticket prices are a whole different, just the topic on its own that we're talking about right now. Um, but the first thing I do want to target, back to my earlier conversation, is stopping the bleeding, because you know, players that play for us, they go out and read those comments on Facebook, what people are saying on Atlanta Falcons page, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I know
You
because
can't avoid it. Like
say again,
I've seen it on non-football related stuff.
yeah,
You can't avoid it.
yeah, and like with Calvin Ridley, like why would he want to play for a fan base that calls him trash every week? I mean, and they still
And
call him trash. Like I need a mental health break, and they still call him, sorry ass baby, etc.
yeah,
I mean,
I've just left the situation of Calvin Ridley. I've left that alone, and I've done that as long as I could ever
yeah,
since I heard about it. I'm not going to touch it, and because I don't want that to be my answer, because it's not
yeah,
my answer. It's Calvin Ridley's answer, and until he makes an answer, it's not right for me in order to speculate the reason as to why he's not showing up. And
I did.
if you're having those speculations, let it be for a positive reason. You can't just jump to the conclusions and make it seem like, oh, well, he just wants to quit on the team just like Julio, or that he's not good enough, so and he knows that, and it's just why he's given up mentally, so they shouldn't have never even made him a captain and all that. They're going to make up all sorts of stories, and I hate that. I
Right, no,
just
you're right,
let
right, right.
that
You're right.
linger.
You're absolutely right. I'm just saying, that's. I'm not saying that he's quitting or anything like that. I'm sorry if that's how it came out.
No, but just like, hey, just
Yeah,
just let it go. Just let it take its course with him.
yeah,
That's all you
yeah,
have to do.
yeah.
Just leave the situation alone, and
Honest.
people still fail at that.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to say is in a like in a width of perspective. Um, yeah, that's right. I'm surprised, with Matt Ryan too. Like, I mean, he still goes there, plays his heart out, for example. But we gotta push our team to do better. And when we rallied all around like the end brotherhood in 2016, look what happened. I mean, I know we all hate the brotherhood right now, but players were seeing that. Players were
Well,
like
that's the
excited to
identity
play.
that they've built, and they
Yeah,
took what 2 years in order to do that.
yeah.
Guess what we have ahead of us in the next year?
So, I mean, these are areas we need to work on and address, and it lies on us as fans. It lies on not just me, not just and not just Evan. It relies on every one of the Atlanta Falcons fans to build that personality of the team.
Yeah, and it's certainly great to have some people like you that are just like passionate enough in order to make this kind of change start. Because as you mentioned, it's going to start with us first.
Yeah,
If we want to see this team have tangible change, guess it's going to start it. It's going to start with the energy levels.
yeah,
Where do you get the energy levels? Well, you get people to the fans and make them care. How do you make them care? And that's all these questions.
yeah.
So that's what we're here for. And it's great to finally see you. Great to know that we can put a
Hey
face
man,
to the name and whatnot.
too legit to
Because
quit. That we always been coming
exactly
down to post before. Too legit to
having the
quit.
dirty bird dance.
Yeah,
But
I suck at dancing, so I'm probably not gonna
the
try it.
oh yeah, that's why again one of the many reasons to why this is only chest up.
Yeah,
I had the bad dance moves. But yeah, great to have you. I honestly wouldn't have known what to do for the past 40 minutes if I was just by myself. So it's great so that you can see everyone. Aaron McDowell,
perfect.
it's great of you to join us now. If you want a quick recap of what I said in the first hour, take a look at this chart and you'll understand that Tampa Bay struggles with scoring if you give them a long field to work with consistently, and that's no regardless of opponent so far. So that's something that we can have to our advantage. That's the weakness that I was preaching, and it's a tangible goal. We've helped do it before, even in the game that we actually do a whole lot. And right now, more than ever, we need this. We need people like Ali in order to make sure that this game is felt. This presence has to be felt. And it's these types of games that we need to win, but we need to see ourselves feel as if we're going to win.
Do me all a favor, and if you by any chance go on Facebook the next few days or next or Instagram or so, and you see someone calling the team trash or so, make sure you call them because that whoever that person is, they're gonna be call them a dumpster, call them a junkyard, call them worse. Trash that person.
I
Make
just
sure
block them.
they regret that they comment that shit again.
I have
Harass their asses.
But I mean, yeah, there's two sides of the coin. I'm just the one to block them. I don't want to ever see them on my page. And you would not believe the number of people that I've blocked in the last couple of years. It's just, well into like the 10,000s.
The thing is, you and I might block them, but the players might not. And if the players read the comments and affect them bad, then that's affecting the team. So we want to make sure that our players see that their fans are backing them up, regardless of what it is, whether you like the player or not, whether you're a fan of Matt Ryan or not. And, and I'm wearing his t-shirt right now because, I'm a fan of Matt Ryan, and he's probably like the most controversial player in our fan base right now, but I don't care who our quarterback is. He plays for the Falcons. He deserves our respect. He deserves our support because as a Falcons fans, so we should rally up behind whoever our Falcons players are, whether they're practice squad players, whether they're water boys, whether they're starters,
positional coaches or whatever. Yeah,
doesn't matter. They're Falcons. They're contributing to the team. They should have the support of the fans.
Mm-hmm. And heck, if I'm on to something, then what the heck is Ali on? So, but yeah, we got to have some passion here. I grew up, like I said, in California. No one gave a crap about me because I was a Falcons fan. And when did I decide to become that? I decided to become that because of the entertainment value and because of all the people that were rallying around Michael Vick. So my first year of becoming a fan was in 2007, the 1 year that he didn't actually play. I watched that team through and through because I understood what loyalty meant.
Yeah.
And then the next year we got Matt Ryan, and I've had the pleasure of watching him ever since. And it's not that I'm a Matt Ryan fan or lover or whatever. I'm a fan of my quarterback.
Yes.
I'm a fan of my team first.
Yes.
That's what I put above everything. I put the league I put the sport before the team, and I put the team before the player.
Yeah.
That's the mentality you got to have.
Out there. Everyone hates Josh Rosen. If Josh Rosen is going to be our starter quarterback, I don't give a shit. He's going to have my support.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my support when he was on the field. I rooted for freaking A.J. McCarron this season.
Same.
Yeah, I don't care about who's behind the center, about the personality or whatever, about the mobility or lack of mobility or what color that they are. I root for my team. If he's gone, then I root for the next guy.
Yeah.
But for right now, he's on my team, and I got to defend him to heck and high water until he retires.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that there are other people that they have the mentality too. Sorry. So we're not the people to preach, but we're the people to speak up.
Yeah.
We're the people to make sure.
Yeah.
Hey, a couple months ago, I didn't exist on this platform. I didn't have to because I was over here trying to make sure that I can sneakily convert other people to become Falcons fans, or at the very least, become fans of the sport. And I've been able to do that. And then I made it their decision. Hey, this is my team. I introduced you to the sport. If you want to follow me, go ahead. But hey, I'm going to leave this up to you because that's your right. You have a right to be a fan of whoever you want to be a fan of. And especially in this state, we have freaking 4 teams to choose from at that point. So yeah, it was a multiple choice question, but I chose D. I chose F for Falcons because that's what I wanted to do. All right, and it didn't matter that Michael Vick, the only reason as to why I was here, was gone, because I knew that the team was going to provide me another one. Look what happened. And it was the dedication, it was the loyalty, it was the passion, because guess what? I am the only Falcons fans in the city that I know of. There ain't anyone over here that's a Falcons fan
You're a
other than
Saints
me.
fan?
Well, I'm in a different region, but
Okay.
I'm not really close to anything. I'm in like the most boring spot of California. Everything's like an hour away if you want anything interesting to happen. It's a mess. But hey, in the middle of nowhere, California, that's where I am rooting for my Falcons, and it does not matter who else is around me. All right, I'm from a family of a bunch of 49ers / Raiders fans. That didn't stop me. So it's like I don't want these people to just feel like they have to root it because of the family that they're from. It's like no, like, dude, if you hate this team, then just cut all emotional ties.
Exactly. Fucking
That's all
leave.
you got to do. Why do you feel as if you're smarter than you were before because you've just been hating on the channel of the team and the players that you hate and the fan base that you don't even want to be a part of?
Exactly.
How is that the smarter decision?
Makes no fucking sense. Makes no fucking sense. I mean, and they're just wasting their own time, honestly, by doing that.
Right. So again, yeah, support that bum Joey Harrington. I had to support Byron Leftwich and I had to support Chris Redman for the same season.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter about who's just the quarterback. There's
Demands
52 other
player.
players on this roster, and there's coaches to go along with it.
Yeah.
Support the team.
It's a team
The
play.
fact that we're in week 13 having to say this just to regroup ourselves after a win. Oh boy. But
yeah. I mean, it's okay to feel bad. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad, but I'm just taking people who go out and like comment and saying, "Trash, you should go. Trash, you go. Trash, you." Well, no, motherfucker, you should go. You
you're the easiest one to leave.
Yeah.
There's no money with you involved. You're not a part of a contract that you signed.
Yeah. And like the team can do just fine without you being there. Just leave.
And let's say that Matt Ryan gets treated just like every other Falcons veteran and just like ends up going to another team. Guess what I'm gonna do? Still support my Falcons before I support Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Just like I had to cut all emotional ties with Julio. It can happen. There hasn't been a whole lot of players that just stuck around with one team, and the one guy that I remember was being Roddy White, and he got kicked out the back door.
And I'm so upset. Okay, that one kind of upset me. I wish we still had him, honestly.
But
yeah. Kind of like Roddy.
Yeah, I mean, he still supports us.
Yeah.
Even after all that.
Yeah.
Loves chiming in on the Ain't Hate week. But yeah, people don't realize where we were at last year. People don't realize who we were before Matt Ryan even got here.
Yeah.
We never had back-to-back winning seasons. Never. Since 1966 to 2007. 40 freaking years. Not one back-to-back season.
When did we beat the 862-7? What year was that?
Ooh. Jeez. Maybe someone else in the chat will chance that. I can't think of that on the top of my head, but.
Okay.
Yeah, as we wait for that,
right.
I normally don't do this thing for much longer than 2 hours, and we're about 10 minutes away from that. Okay. So if you have any final thoughts you want to say, any examples that you want to give people moving forward, what times can people expect you to be on here? Could you be another co-host for me?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll be. I usually get done. My day usually gets done around 10:30. So I start my day at 4 a.m, which is like 3 hours from now, and it ends the next day around 10:30. Between working and working out and all. So But I'm gonna do my best because I'm passionate about the team.
Exactly how it should be.
Yeah. If any of you are gonna be at the game, make sure you all call them by the real name, the Buccaneers, not the Buccaneers. Make sure boo the Buccaneers. Just go out there and be there with passion. I'll be there at 1:34 GA. If you see me, say hi. In the Dairy Bird section.
All right.
And I'll be,
Told you where he's at.
looking forward to do some engagement with you all whenever I see that.
Even told you the section. All right. Come see him. Going at the game next Sunday. Come see him. Whoop whoop. Whatever else Mark Ingram said. All right. So, yeah. Any last thoughts from the people in the chat? Because I already kind of exhausted myself in the first hour. So. But again, how are we feeling?
I'm being optimistic, honestly, about this coming game. I'm being optimistic, and I mean, honestly, I go into any game with optimism for the Falcons, regardless of how bad the odds are.
And what I said before, it's like, hey, if you ignore the odds are going to ignore you.
The odds. I don't give a shit about the odds. Go out there, beat underdogs, and just ram through them. We have to show up as fans with a winning attitude to every game. We can't let the thoughts of losing come to our head. We have, because the players pick off our energy.
Yeah, and if there's no energy to feed from,
I don't care if we had
you're purposely giving them a shallow pool to swim in and supposing them to be Michael Phelps. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
I'm gonna say, I don't care if we had the same record as the Lions right now. I'm still gonna show up to every game with a winning attitude, expecting the team to win.
That's what they do.
Because just keep going. Trust me, that energy is felt throughout.
You got someone to look out for.
All right. Well, yeah.
Eric saying, I think our grinding game is going to be better from here on out. Oh, most definitely. I don't even care who's at center. I don't even care who's at running back. It didn't matter. Again, ignore the odds. The odds will ignore you. That's the one thing that I've learned about this season, especially. Jamers feeling good about this game. Just need to give our best effort. We'll rise to the occasion. That's what Rise Up meant for us at one point. Now we say it and people cringe. That's what it was all about. We rose up to the occasion. So again, if it needs to be said, hey, this is going to be the type of stream in order to share. I don't really do a whole lot of self-advertising, and I know that could be bad for me moving forward, but that's just not within me. All right, I'm sorry, because I don't want to seem as if I'm any better than anyone else here. All right, I'm just a member of the fan base as any of y'all are. All right, y'all have known this channel a lot longer than I have, and have had more loyalty, have made more friendships in here. And at this point, I'm just along for the ride, making sure that I get myself every time around this time Wednesday and on this time Saturday in order to give you guys a show that you want to like. All right? I don't really like going back to these shows because it makes me cringe hearing my own voice. But that being said, I think that this is going to be the type of video and this is the type of stream in order to share with other people and encourage them to let them know that, hey, we are not the same Falcons team.
You have to show up and be there with bad attitude. Bring back that bad attitude. But bring up the toughest, meanest attitude as well.
We over here celebrating the 30-year anniversary of the rudest team in NFL history. We need to show that same mentality. We need to show this type of mentality too, that, hey, I don't care. I'm better than you.
Yeah. I want to say, because we went through the rudest, now we got to show the toughest team mentality.
And it ain't even about him. As a matter of fact, hey, go ahead and have the Bucs get their best. Have them all to have their best players. All right? Because I want to know that, hey, my team can beat them at their best, even though we're at our lowest point. If no one
Fuck the
ain't got a
Falcons.
chance, screw those chances.
Yeah.
We're winning, and we're not going to be knocked down if we lose.
Yeah.
That's the point about having the mentality. You think you're going to go to the Philly game like Ali mentioned, and as the opposite member of the opposing team, and feel as if you're not going to get jumped when you leave to your car? You got nothing coming.
Yeah.
Right? It's that fighting spirit. It's that mentality that we need to build. And it's great to know that Ali and hey, the rest of you guys in the chat, go ahead and help him out. Go ahead and join him. He's gonna be wanting some something fan related. He's gonna know more about that than I do. But
Honestly,
he's
I'm
gonna
just doing
certainly be here, and we'll be here to support him, just like we'll be here to support our Falcons.
awesome.
All right. So with that being said, appreciate you, everyone else tuning in, and I don't know how to end this stuff. So
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this at the end. Whatever. At the end of the day, the Falcons, our mentality, or we should. If anyone tries to say anything bad or whatever, good, bad, all I'm gonna say is, doesn't matter if they're the NFL analysts, coaches, president of the NFL. Fuck them, we ball. So that's what I'm gonna with.
you know how Mad Mike and K-Styles, how they normally end the stream?
That's. Yeah. You don't have to.
We ain't here to play. We here to stay. You ain't gotta go home.
But you gotta get out of here.
Deuces.